Now, a lot come to me because they want to learn about coffee brewing kasi they would like to start their own cafe. However, with the way I teach, I always touch the business side. Kaya naman they realize that there's more to starting a cafe than just learning how to brew. So for today's video, I'm gonna be discussing the step-by-step process of starting a cafe from scratch. First, I'm gonna be talking about the things you need to know and also the skills you need to acquire aside from coffee brewing. Apart from that, I'll also be discussing the major activities that you have to go through from planning up to opening. So if you're interested with that, then keep on watching. Now, all throughout my video, I'm actually gonna go over this Startup Coffeepreneur workbook that I share to my students. And it has 3 major phases when you start a cafe. Basically, these are your foundational, planning, and implementation. And let me discuss them one by one. So under foundational, this is where we build strong foundations to 2 things. Unang-una is sa'yo, you as a coffee business owner, and to your cafe, which is your business. And basically, these foundations would be the things you would refer to in the future in case you need to decide on things. So under foundational, here are the things you need to learn. Unang-una, you should learn about basic coffee knowledge. Now, there is coffee science. However, I always tell my students that you don't need to become coffee scientists. You don't need to become a certified barista and get all those certificates for you to start a cafe. You just have to know perhaps the history of coffee, the coffee process, so you would appreciate the coffee from the plant to its cup, and of course, coffee extraction and coffee brewing. So when we say coffee brewing, you actually have 2 options. One, you can do manual coffee brewing for your small coffee business, or you can also do the espresso machine. By the way, if you're in Cebu or you're just near Cebu and you want to learn really hands-on on creating your cup of coffee and brewing, you can join our training at our cafe, the Mezzanine Cafe. The links are here where you can register. Another thing, aside from learning about coffee, you should also learn about the coffee business itself. Then, of course, just like any other business, you have to learn the industry of it before you come in. So you should also learn about the coffee business industry as a whole or international, and then national level, and then local, depende kung saan yung cafe mo. Next would be deciding on your coffee business model. Now, this one would actually affect also your coffee business concept. Anong type of cafe ba and what's the concept of your cafe? And I have already a detailed video about that. You may watch that here. Now, under the coffee business concept, I actually have here with me the guide questions in the workbook that you need to fill out as you decide on your coffee business concept. Let me go through them. One would be your business name, the values you want to be associated with your business, how do you want your customers to feel when they hear about your cafe, any interests you want to be incorporated in your cafe, and describe the overall vibe of your cafe. Answering these questions would help you decide on the type of concept you would want for your coffee business. Now, coffee is actually a good market. There is already a ready market for coffee. However, your competitors are the big brands and also the small brands. And for you to stand out is you have to have a concept for your cafe to make it unique and to make it remarkable. So don't just sell coffee with a purpose. So technical side naman on your coffee business concept, you can answer these questions on what kind of coffee drinks do you want to serve, any specialty drinks, and the specialty drinks would now be depende sa type of concept sa cafe mo. So for example, one coffee shop, which is a coffee shop of one of our students, Duyug Coffee, their business concept for their cafe is more on the, of course, Duyug. Duyug in Bisaya is actually about joining in singing. So it's more of the songs. And they actually name their drinks as songs or parang associated with the Duyug theme. Another would be, what kind of food do you want to serve? Will your cafe be a dine-in setup? What is the capacity? What is your cafe's mission, and what type of service would your cafe offer? Aside from serving coffee, what other services would you be doing? Let's say for us in the Mezzanine Cafe, we're basically a learning cafe, and we endeavor to help our customers become productive in their studies and in their work. So we also offer services such as exclusive bookings for our study area, for their meetings, group studies, etc. Next would be still under foundationals, you have to identify your target market and your ideal customers. So let me go through the guide questions that I have here in the workbook. Who would benefit the most from your coffee business? Describe the group of people which you aim to be your customers, the demographics, the age, their gender, their educational background, etc., etc. Be very specific. Where can you put your cafe for it to be convenient to them? What are their dreams or aspirations? How can your coffee business help them achieve it? Another would be, what are their problems, struggles, or current life challenges? How can your coffee business solve these directly or indirectly? How can you make your coffee business remarkable to them? How do you want your customers to remember your coffee business? And what type of coffee business products and services can you best offer to them? Next, still under foundational would be your competitor check. So always do a checking of your competition, not to bash them or not to identify all their mistakes or whatsoever, but for you to benchmark. And here are the guide questions. Who are your existing competitors in the area that you would want to put in your cafe? What are they currently offering? How can you be different? Other matters to take note about these existing competitors. So under foundational, let me just recap. You need to learn about coffee brewing, the coffee business industry. Another thing is you have to identify your coffee business concept, and it would help if you'd be able to identify your target market and your existing competition. When you do this, it would be a lot easier to create your menu because you already have things to consider. Comparing to just identifying what would be your products, what's your menu, with this, having these foundations, you're basically creating your menu with a strategy. Second major part in the process of building your cafe or your small cafe is planning. With this, you would be creating now your coffee business game plan that would help you in different decision-making scenarios in starting your cafe. So, marami kang dapat ipag-decide, and when you skip this portion of really creating a game plan, you might, 1, overspend, or 2, you might be buying things you don't actually need. Okay, so under planning, 1, you have to canvas everything that you need. 1, the suppliers based from the type of coffee business concept that you have decided. The materials and kitchen tools needed to create those products, the equipments needed. Kaya you need still to learn about coffee brewing kasi if you don't know coffee brewing, you might be there a lot of coffee tools, coffee brewing tools, and if wala kang alam dyan, tendency is you might be buying everything. At the end, na hindi mo pala siya need. Furnitures and fixtures, the location and the place. I'll be discussing also an in-depth video on choosing a location for your cafe. So make sure you're subscribed in this channel to be able to be notified for my upcoming videos. Another very important under this planning stage is computing your startup budget. Now, common mistakes of Pinoys as we start a business, kahit hindi cafe business, is we tend to be too excited to begin and to just open. And hindi natin kino-compute kung magkano na ba talaga yung na-spend natin or magkano lang dapat yung i-spend. Now, if you don't do that, tendency is you might really be overspending, and tendency is in the long run, walang-wala yung time, money, and effort mo spent on your business because you don't know in the first place how much yung babawiin mo. So always create a budget. Now, I actually have an Excel file of a startup coffee business startup budget. I discussed that in our online workshop via Zoom. So if you might be interested, you can join our monthly Zoom workshops. Here's a link on how you can join. And then another thing for the planning stage is to create also your coffee business plan. Now, hindi mo kailangang ma-stress on the parts of the business plan. There are a lot of templates online, but I'll go through what should be there in your coffee business plan. And this would actually be like your compass every time you would have a major decision for your cafe. So it should have an executive summary, the description and the business concept of your cafe, its structure, is it a sole proprietor, partnership ba, corpo ba, who are the owners, what's the profit sharing, etc., etc. The objective, vision and mission, what are your products and your services, your marketing and promotions, your market research and positioning, your location details and setups, specific branding, financials, and of course, your timeline. So ano ba yung the timeline basically is a detailed dates on achieving your objectives. Again, creating a coffee business plan is also the thing I help my coffee business students. So if you're interested to join our Zoom workshops every month, I have here a link below. Third phase is the implementation stage. Now, this is where we take action on all our plans and constantly adjust and reevaluate according to actual circumstances that may occur. Ito na yung sinasabi ko na if you skip phase 2, which is planning, tendency is you'll really get overwhelmed sa pagbuo ng cafe mo. Kasi there are a lot of things you need to do. Tendency is you don't know kung ano yung uunahin. So here are the major activities that you'll go through under the implementation stage. Unang-una, you have to register your business. Another thing is you also need to do already the construction and then the renovation. And all of these, yung construction, renovation, pag-register ng business, depende din yun sa coffee business concept mo, right? So this would now be a lot easier when you already did your planning stage. Then, purchasing of supplies, materials, tools, equipments, and furnitures. So, pag na-identify mo na yung coffee business model or concept mo, and you already did the canvassing in the second phase, then this would be a lot easier na just simply buying or purchasing them. Then, another activity would be taste test and menu finalization. You also need to hire and train your staff. And of course, your soft and grand opening. So I really suggest na before you do soft opening is you also do simulation. Maybe you can invite your friends to go to your cafe and then order, no? And that would now be the simulation of your staff on how they take the order and how they fulfill the order. So that when you do already your soft opening and there would be customers na hindi mo kilala, hindi sila manibago. And they were able already to practice. So that's the purpose of simulation. So there goes the 3 major phases that you go through when you start a cafe: foundational, planning, and implementation. I know there's a lot, but please just don't get overwhelmed. Take them one at a time and let me know in the comments on which part of the phases you want me to discuss further in my next videos. Now, if you're curious on how much you need to start a small cafe, I have a video here discussing about it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in this next video.